What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am an astrologer and musician, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank y'all for being here. I hope you're having a very merry holiday situation right now. I hope you're enjoying yourself. This is a perfect time for us to get into the jolliness and the merriment that we have around us. We can look back. This is going to be a nice little retrospective time for us where we can look back on this time period going back to 2008 and further than that. And we can see how difficult it has been. There's been a lot going on there and it's been tough. And if you survived this long, then good on you. You're doing a good job. That's what's up. I thank you for being here. I thank you for being a part of this community. If you want to send me a shout out on Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, that is continually helpful. I super appreciate everybody who does that. I super appreciate all of the Patreons who support on Patreon, where you can get an electoral report if you want to some support in finding some good timing to launch a product or do whatever it is that you do in your life. Send an email to your boss or something like that. Got stuff available for you there. Thank you for going to Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, and checking out the song Can't Help Myself. I promise there's new music coming out soon. Looking very forward to it. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. I mentioned a retrospective before, and again, indeed, this is like what we're looking at right now. So we got big Capricorn stuff going on, right? The sun is in Capricorn. We just had a new moon in Capricorn. So that new moon in Capricorn, it wants to start something new. But really, if we're looking at what is happening right now, we can see that Saturn is still in Aquarius. Saturn is in a Saturn sign and will only be in that place for another 3 months or so, right? And 3 months is a pretty short period of time as far as Saturn is concerned. So we're really coming to the end of that. And Saturn has been so strong here for such a long period of time. It's going to be like 5 years, I think, of Saturn, super strong Saturn, from Saturn in Capricorn all the way through Saturn in Aquarius. This, we're sort of like looking at the end of an era in an important way, right? So that is coming up, and that's sort of what we're looking at as we turn the corner into the next season. So when we turn the corner into springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, that's when we're going to be doing that. In the meantime, it's going to be time to take a look back. Now, one of the reasons we have that retrospective going on here is because not only do we have Mars retrograde right now, but and Mars is retrograde in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. This week, Mercury is going to station retrograde. And where is Mercury going to station retrograde? In Capricorn. In fact, in late Capricorn, conjunct Pluto. We can think about how Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, right? And what has been going on in the world since 2008, right? We can think about, like the wild accumulation of wealth that has taken place over that period of time. You can talk about billionaires in that regard, especially if you want to talk about plutocracy and this kind of thing, like who's really running shit out here and this kind of thing, right? We can also think about, like, in a lot of ways, many people throughout the world have been lifted out of abject poverty over that same period of time. It's not as though abject poverty or slavery or whatever has gone away. It certainly has not. And in fact, we've seen an increase in certain slaving movements and the prison industrial complex and this kind of thing throughout Pluto and Capricorn as well. But all the same, we have to look at the situation and be like, okay, it's different now than it was before. Better and worse. Both of those things took place, and it's different now than it was before. And so we're going to be seeing some changes in that. It's not that we're going to be seeing changes in that. We've seen those changes, and now is a good time to look back on those changes while Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn. It is worth thinking about as well how Mercury is stationing retrograde at 24 degrees of Capricorn, which is the same spot where Venus stationed retrograde last year. So around this time last year, we had a Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which was also conjunct Pluto. So we can think about whenever, you see Pluto, you can see wealth. You can also see shadows going on. We can see, and it's in an earth sign, right? So we might think about a territorial player of some sort. Lisa Scheim pointed out brilliantly that during this Venus retrograde in Capricorn last year, we saw the beginning of the war in Ukraine. And so I wonder if this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn might want to speak to that in some kind of way. Now, it's also important. This is also thinking how Mercury is ruling Mars in Gemini. And so if we're going to be thinking about war or warring of any sort, conflict of any means, then we're going to be looking at that Mars thing, right? And so this seems really interesting to me. Now, I would not expect a bunch of forward motion as far as that's concerned, and sort of thinking down from the global scale, thinking into our own lives as well, thinking about wherever Capricorn is in your chart, right? You can think about that area of life, of your life. You can think about the Capricorn things. We can think about the sort of ambition and the drive to be practical and to make things work in some kind of structural, systematic kind of way. All of this stuff has been really important, especially from 2018 when Saturn moved into Capricorn and sort of like really brought the hammer down in that, right? So we can think about all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't necessarily expect forward motion on any of this stuff yet, or in the Gemini stuff, which is where Mars has been retrograde. We still are not to that period where we're moving forward yet, right? And this is not going to turn around when we hit the beginning of the year also, right? Because Mercury is still going to be retrograde at that point. Mars is still going to be retrograde at that point. So really, we're going to start looking for forward motion to happen after January 12th. And I want to emphasize after, not on January 12th. I wouldn't expect things to just start moving immediately, because Mars is going to have to turn around for a little while and then move back. And the whole time in January, Mars is going to be at 8 and 9 degrees of Gemini. So we're not seeing real forward motion during that time yet, right? But between now and then, we've got Mercury retrograde, we got Mars retrograde. Also, not for nothing, Venus is present in Capricorn. And so Venus is going to come up and conjoin that Mercury, also going to conjoin Pluto at the same time. So I do like to see Venus in this situation as well. I like Venus in Capricorn kind of generally. It feels really like it's so tactile. It like knows how to be in a body. It knows how to like be sweet, even in the place where it's cold and bitter and this kind of thing. Like there's a kind of superpower in that I think is really nice. And so to see Venus here as well as Mercury retrograde, with this in mind, it can be good to not try to move forward on stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that, we've still got Mars retrograde and all that. And I think about Mars retrograde as like having a kind of urgency, like having this feeling of like, oh, I really need to move forward on the thing, but you can't really. And so, now's a good time to like lean into that impossibility and just be like, look, it's not going to work right now. I might as well hang out, have a bit of mulled cider or whatever sweet drink or whatever it is that is like seasonal in your area. Have a little bit and just chill out for a little bit. Take a look back. I can't stop recommending the journal. The journal is super important. It's a really good way to get your thoughts out. Maybe organize a couple of them. Recognize and honor some of the ones that are a little wild and potentially wretched and vengeful and this kind of thing. You can take a minute. You don't have to squash those down. You can push them out a little bit and maybe exercise some of that. Now, exercising, also a good idea. Like exercise and move your body, but also exercising, like vomiting the demons up, this kind of thing, right? That kind of purgation is a really good look throughout this retrograde period, right? There's like looking backwards in order to learn from history is a really good idea here. I've been thinking about as well, like with Mercury. So Mercury is moving retrograde in earth signs now, where Mercury had been moving retrograde in air signs before. For the past 2 years, we've been seeing that. And so I wonder if there's something here about, and I really love Mercury in a yin sign as well, an earth or a water sign, because those are a little less talky and a little more listening. And so there's something here. It's really good for getting information, and Capricorn getting practical information, getting useful information, getting the information that it takes to actually build something helpful, right? And so with Saturn, a Saturn sign, we might be looking at accountability. We might be seeing mistakes or errors or this kind of thing that need to be worked out in some kind of way. And so being able to take that on the chin and find a joke in it, we can remember that Saturn is really good with dry humor, clowns, jokes, stuff like that, right? Can you turn it on its head? Jesting is a really good way to soften the blow a little bit so that you can hear what you need to hear and learn something from it. There's much more to say about all this. Check out, I think this week, the year ahead forecast I did with plant cutting is going to come out. That'll be fun. There's other stuff to plug. Maybe you should find it at zambonifunk.com. I appreciate all y'all. Thank y'all so much. Peace and